Today's episode is titled Harmony, Heritage, and the Heartbeat of Hostfest. Our guest is Kaylee Capp. Uncover the transformative magic of heritage and Hostfest through Kaylee's inspiring journey from children's choir member to director. Kaylee first experienced the festival's vibrant energy and rich cultural heritage as a member of the Western Plains Children's Choir, and she is now one of the choir's directors whose mission is to rekindle the connection between her students and Hostfest. Hear how Hostfest serves as a catalyst for personal growth and empowerment, nurturing confidence and leadership skills for future generations. Enjoy our chat with Kaylee Capp. Kaylee, thank you very much for making the time for us and to have a chat about the Hostfest. And I think we've had such a good time here today, and there's so many stories of community history and tradition where families have come from. I guess I always find myself curious, what is your connection to the Hostfest?
My introduction to the Hostfest started very strongly with Western Plains Children's Choir involvement. That was the first time I got to audition for anything and sing for anything and really experience the heritage and just the wonderful, colorful vibrancy of this festival. So, and to explore all of those Scandinavian songs, my world was like opened to it, and my life was changed ever since then. Because I mean, in the worlds that you're living in, sometimes in this North Dakotan world, things can feel a little flat, especially I came from a small town, so everything was very much day by day, you did this and that, and so for me to have an outlet where suddenly there was this just explosion of heritage and beauty and color and music, it's just in a concoction compiled so beautifully, I'm like, how can you not resist it? So I was just drawn to that, and it helped that the directors at the time they made it such a good selling point to the kids that are like, this is amazing. You guys are a part of history now. You realize that you have a legacy to carry on, and you have a job to tell the story of this people, and what a beautiful story it is.
Wow, that feels like a very positive emotional weight. Sometimes these responsibilities feel heavy, but that one sounds like it was put on you very lightly.
Yes. And like you said, yeah, it comes with a weight, but I think it just depends on perspectives. It's a big responsibility to sing in front of a stage. It's a really big responsibility to get yourself 1 foot forward and sing in front of a big crowd of people, especially at a young age. But once you understand why the people are there, it just makes you want to sing with them and clap with them and dance with them even more. And who can't resist that?
So, do you know your family's history of how your family arrived in North Dakota, where your ancestors came from?
I come from a mainly German background, actually, and slightly Ukrainian. We're actually trying to find out our family heritage right now. But I can tell you confidently that I believe my great-grandparent or great-great-grandparent, Christopher, came over here from Germany and settled in Minnesota area, southwest corner of Minnesota. And since then, we've kind of branched off from there. So, and that was on my mother's side of the family. And she met my father when they were in the Air Force in Alaska, and he's from Michigan, and they've got roots, Ukrainian roots and things of this sort. And we're still trying to find out some information there. But once the Air Force brought us to North Dakota, which was close to home, close enough to Minnesota, we said, this is a good place to raise a family, and it's safe and friendly. So we decided to stay in 1999, and we've been here ever since.
It sounds like you found a sense of belonging at the festival almost right away. Like you could be who you wanted to be here without any judgment.
Yeah, because I mean, for someone especially growing up who is incredibly shy, this choir taught me how to be a leader. And that's something that I'm trying to even instill in my students now. And I'm sharing that aspect of it to be like, well, this is a great space for you to discover yourself because you're not outrightly exposed. You're in a fairly big crowd all the time. So why not try to have some fun and push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone in a really colorful way? So
That is really beautifully stated. I think that maybe one of the misconceptions of the festival for someone who's never been here is that it's just for old people. But you're still young, and you were young when you found your way here and you fell in love with this place. It's very apparent to me how much you love the Hostfest.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to think about life without it. I mean, during that COVID year especially, it was like you have a track record, right? You're like, I've been here every single year, and now it's gone, and what do we do? So I think that affected a lot of people at the heart, too. So trying to rebuild it is something that us three directors are trying to do now.
I'd like to believe there's a lot of people that are working to rebuild it and to help other people find an identity here, like it seems you did. And I think, again, for some of the observations I made and the conversations I've been having, there is a possible disconnect for people who feel like this isn't for them. How do we help them find their place here if they don't have Scandinavian roots? I think it's important to note, to tell everyone that you don't have to have Scandinavian heritage or history to come to the Norsk Hostfest and have fun. Aside from that, what does this festival really mean to you?
What it means to me, it's tradition. In an ever-growing world that highlights trends, and it's always changing, and there's always new things, sparkly things. And as cool and eye-grabbing as those things can be, to make sure that you return to these traditions that have always been here, that are always constant, and that are just as, or even more so, eye-grabbing and eye-catching and more meaningful than the quick things that our society grabs onto. I think that's at the heart for me, what I cherish the most about it. So.
That's such a good answer to the question. And I can just feel the connection you have to the Hostfest and to this festival. And it's very apparent. You know that festivals are these cultural epicenters where you can be exposed to new ideas, where curiosities can be satisfied. Can you remember a time where you came in here curious and you learned something that just blew you away?
I really don't know if I could pinpoint any huge moments. I think because, again, at such a young age, you kind of slowly look at new things every year and you grow accustomed to the traditions, but you notice maybe, oh, what's this bunad? What's a bunad? Oh, there's other countries that have different kinds of bunads. That's so cool. I want a bunad. But it's like little things like that. The intricacy of the jewelry, right? When you walk around to these booths and they share your story, you go, okay, that's incredibly deeper than I expected it to be. So even just from the clothing to the food to the stories that people tell, it's endless. You could go stop anybody on the street or in a booth and they would tell you something new that you've never known. So it's up to, I guess, the person to go up there and ask them or have somebody be like, hey, go check that out.
Does it ever surprise you that little old Minot can be this crossroads of all these beautiful things?
So I'm a teacher at Redeemer's Christian School, and I teach music. And I tell my kids that selling point. I say, guess what? Minot is the biggest Scandinavian festival in our nation. And they go, here? I'm like, yeah, it's just a couple miles away. It's happening here. And that blows their mind. So you kind of think about how vibrant Minot really is. And I think a lot of people underestimate it because not only do we have this, we have a whole opera company, we have a summer theater thing. So that side of things are really, really cool. And obviously there's so much more that I can't really think that comes to mind. But I mean, a dance studio, all of these kinds of things in this big little town, I think that a lot of people have called Minot. But I think we're so proud to be able to host that. The fact that we have a Scandinavian Heritage Park with a whole staff church, I mean, that's incredible. And I don't think a lot of people take that for granted. And so I always try to tell my kids, do you realize the special heritage that we have here in Minot? Maybe go visit it. Maybe go check it out, study it a little bit.
Heritage is something you've mentioned quite a few times already. I'm curious, What does heritage mean to you?
It's important. Heritage is important. That we may carry it on. I mean, it's the lifeblood of us as human beings. Without it, I feel like you can have an identity, but to be able to come together with your roots, have an appreciation for other people's roots in a community that's so supportive of it, where you'll find a lot of Scandies and a lot of even Germans and, people from that area, these immigrants, and they have roots. So to push that to the wayside would be inconsiderate and almost selfish, right? I feel like we have to honor what's been passed down to us, and we have an important role to keep that alive.
I like that, and I respect it a lot. I think that honoring those traditions is important, but helping people understand why. Why do we honor these traditions? Why does this heritage matter in this modern society where there's so many distractions and so many things pulling us in every direction all at once? Personally, professionally, socially, it's a lot to take in. And I think a festival like this allows you to maybe slow down just a little bit and connect with people who may not be like you. And we need more of that. We need to learn from others. We need to engage with people who have different ideas than ours. It doesn't matter if it's a Scandinavian festival like the Hostfest, or a music festival, or a Renaissance festival. These are events that bring people together who otherwise may not ever be together. And there are so many people that you can encounter here at the Hostfest that you will not see or encounter anywhere else all year.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you think about, we do have a lot of big events here in Minot, but considering the heart of this one and why people are here, it's like, it's so hard to just not engage with more people around you. So,
and it's significantly different than something like the state fair. And we love the fair. It's got its place in Minot, and we're really lucky to have that too. But it's not the same as this festival. Most people aren't going to the state fair to experience another culture. Can you share a moment or memorable experience that stands out to you from all your years of coming to the Norsk Hostfest?
I remember, just as an experience, especially a lot younger than 7th grade, one of the first times I came here, there were these trolls, and I kind of miss them walking around here, but these big trolls that stood on stilts, and some of them that wore leaves, and they were just very interesting creatures. And as a child, you're like, what is that? And I remember the first time seeing this troll towering over me. And he wasn't threatening me, obviously, by any means, but at the height and stature that he was and the height that I was, as like a 2nd grader, I'm like, what am I looking at here? This is incredible. I'm scared. I don't know if I should run away or look at it longer. I don't know. But so even like the little mystical things of the festival, I'd love to see some of that stuff return. Because even if it's a little bit like, whoa, it's still kind of another important part of that history. I don't know. There's a joke that my friends and I tell. We say, like, if you're not traumatized by a troll when you're young, it's not a troll. It doesn't look like a troll. So, but that's a fun little memory I remember.
That's fantastic. When I was researching what is Nordic culture, what is Scandinavian culture, something that was constantly coming up in my research was folk tales, fairy tales, and I'm in agreement. I think it would be neat to see a stronger presence of that piece of the history here. I would love to see a 10-foot tall troll out there. That's a wow factor, right? That's a wild moment when you see something like that, especially as a kid. It's just one of those things you won't really forget. Aside from your own performances, what else keeps you coming back to the Hostfest every year?
I come here as a patron. When I'm off the clock, I'm looking at all the different booths, and I'm learning people's stories, and I'm, again, like we were just talking about, discovering new little found things of the culture. So like every year I say, okay, I'm going to allow myself to buy one nice thing. So whether it be like a new ring or a bracelet from these artisans, a cloak, and you get to learn their trade a little bit, where they come from. So I take a piece of it, of something every year with me so that I can continue to build that. So
I love it. And one thing that really stood out to me as I was walking around the festival today is the fashion. What would you say about the fashion and the jewelry of the Norsk Hostfest?
I love it. I love all of it so much. It's so vibrant, right? Again, you'll see all of these different kinds of bunads. Like how cool that we get to have a bunad show, and you get to understand that each one of these bunads comes from a specific territory of Norway. That's crazy if you think about it. Like, I mean, Norway is a very long country, so to think about the amount of culture that happens alone in just those little, sometimes even desolate areas of Norway, where these people kind of come together as a community and create a new style for themselves, but it's still an overarching theme across all of Norway. Bunad, but it's specific to the territory. So like that kind of fashion is wonderful. The jewelry, like you said, it's so intricate and different from anything you'd find in a store nowadays. And I mean, how more beautiful do you feel when you get to don something that's handcrafted? So
sticking with fashion, because to me, I think that's a really big selling point of the festival that maybe doesn't get talked about enough. So if you know somebody who loves fashion, what would you say to them if they had never been to the Hostfest?
You're missing out. You're missing out on the fashion when you don't go to Hostfest, you know. Again, it's so different from anything you'd find in America. But it's not something that you're never not allowed to don, I don't think. If you have a deep appreciation for it and you understand where it's coming from.
So you've been coming to the Hostfest for 15, roughly 20 years. What's the best change you've seen from then to now? What's your favorite improvement the Hostfest has made in that time?
Have there been improvements? I don't know, but I'd like to see improvements on that. I don't know if that some of those things have maybe drifted in the last couple of years, if I'll be honest. So I'd like to see more street performers. I'd like to see more artisans. I'd like to see, more singers. I've got a couple of singers who I work with who would love to even perform here too, but sometimes it's hard to get a slot in. But I'm like, how can it be though when I see all this open space that has potential? I don't know. So, and who knows? But I always think there's room for more.
It feels like there's always, at a festival, and again, it's very hard as a cultural effort, especially a festival, is something that invites ideas. Festivals invite ideas. They invite new ways of thinking because we're cohabitating, we're having these cool conversations, we're mingling with people that we are not usually around. And when you strike up a conversation in those settings, ideas come to life. Do you think the Hostfest is a place where ideas come to life?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure there have been many ideas that have been birthed here from people just connecting with each other and saying, hey, maybe you should come do this next year, or hey, ask your friend to come and invite them to sell their artisan things, or just come perform for us, right? I think last year I really, really loved when they brought in some more actual folk music groups from Scandinavia. So Dalacopa, when they came here, absolutely loved it. I'm like, more of this, please. Like, I know we have our country singers and that draws in a crowd, but honestly, let me see more of those traditional kinds of music being shown on the stage.
Yeah, I want to see a bard. I'd love to see some wandering minstrels and people who can strike up a song about nothing at any given moment. I love the accordion players. They're fantastic. But when I think of the folk tales and the fairy tales of Scandinavian culture, I think of a minstrel walking on a country road, strumming along and singing about trolls in the forests and things like that. And I think of magic and, that stuff is really interesting.
So a little bit more, even more on that Viking side then is almost what you're thinking. Yeah, that's definitely draws to that too.
There's definitely a home here for that. And I'm wondering, as you look to the future of the Hostfest? What are your hopes for the future?
That it just continue to, at the heart of it, carry on what it was initially started for, to carry on that heritage, to celebrate that culture, that life, the things that they started and what they brought over to America. And I mean, to celebrate that culture and that heritage just needs to continue, especially in a place where a lot of people have that in their roots.
All right, one question I will challenge you with, Kaylee, is how do we help somebody who does not feel connected to that?
I mean, outreach in its best way. I mean, the best way that any individual can. So just trying to get, I don't know. There's a lot of different approaches to that. So as an individual, and if you're somebody who loves the Hostfest, bring a friend along and be like, I think you should just try this out. Even if it's nothing you're really into, it's at least something that you can help understand better, and you'll probably end up falling in love with it more often than not. But whether it even just be more performances during the year of that kind of a cultural thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be just this time of year. It can be an all year round.
That's a really good point. How do we let's keep the Hostfest in the hearts and minds of the people all year round. And not just for the people who love the Hostfest and look forward to it every year, but planting those little seeds of possibility in the wonder in the minds of people in this area as to what the Hostfest offers. I think that's brilliant. And that's a piece of it, right? You've been fantastic, Kaylee, in your energy, some of what you brought to the interview. You were answering some of my questions before I had a chance to ask them and hit on a lot of these cool notes that we really wanted to bring home. And we really want people who like the Hostfest to like what we're doing, but this isn't just for them. This is for people who have never been to the Hostfest or maybe don't know what happens here. And I think your energy really helps people understand and know and feel the possibilities of the Hostfest. And I really appreciate you bringing that to the interview today. All right, Kaylee, the podium is yours for any final elevator pitch that you want to give.
All I just know is that what Western Plains opened up for me changed my life forever. It helped that I had directors who were my mentors see me as somebody who could grow in that and see my potential as being a leader. And if not for that choir, if not for this, I would not be standing here today. I would not be as confident as I am. I don't think sometimes don't see myself as a leader, but because of this experience, I've learned and am learning how to do that and how to continue to teach that, with this being a pedestal for kids to experience and learn that as well. It's just so important to me that kids continue to see themselves for more than they're worth. So that's ultimately my goal when I work with kids here.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. For more information on the Norsk Hostfest, please visit www.hostfest.com. This podcast was made possible by the Minot Area Community Foundation's Williamson Fund and the generous support of private donors. Thank you for listening.